Hey sis, this is Donna, and right now I have Tiffany with me, and she will not be on video like most. You'll hear her voice, but you won't see her. So what we're going to talk today about is abuse in relationships, and it kind of struck me, when we were having a conversation. Most women, we go through abuse and stuff, and we've seen it with our mother, or we've seen somebody that raised us going through it. But in this case, that was not the case. So that's the first question. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi.
So the first question is, did your mother ever tell you about abuse? Were you ever taught about abuse or what not to let people do in your past as a child?
I was not. Nope. I had no idea about it.
Had your, I said it, but to clarify that, had you ever seen a woman being abused around you?
No, not at all. Not at all. And the thing about it was, my mom worked hard, and her and my dad weren't together. And I was around a lot of boys.
Okay.
I had my brothers. I was the only girl. My mom was at work. I had boy cousins. So I really never seen it.
See, that's surprising, but that's what I want people to know. Even though you weren't raised like that, it's not always the ones, I think it's a stereotype, if you've been in abuse, then it'll continue to happen to you. Mm-hmm. Well, some women, they break that mold, but then some women, look, it's never happened before, and they haven't seen it growing up. So where do we start on this? How old were you when you got into a relationship? Kind of tell... what happened to end up being an abusive relationship, and you didn't see that coming up? What age?
I was about 16 when I met my kid's father, and I think it was just that I want to say I might have been lacking the love from my dad. You know what I mean? Because I always wanted to be a daddy's girl, so I think maybe that's what it was. And why I was so fond to him, because he gave me that love. He did stuff for me.
Okay, so he was older than you.
He was older than me, yes. He was 7 years older than me. And he just did a lot for me. He would pick me up from work. He would buy me stuff. He would, spend money. Just all the things that most girls think they need and want to have. And at that age, you don't know no better.
Right.
And your mom is not really telling you, you need to leave this man alone. He's no good for you or anything like that. You didn't really have anybody. I didn't have anybody that was warning me, this older man might not be good for you.
Yeah. So that's important too. When you say you were looking for a father's love, I know I can relate to that. And as usual, I always say something concerning myself too, because we're very honest. We want to put it out there for all young girls and ladies of whatever age. There are still some women going through, and they can be in their 50s or 60s,
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have a father's love, I believe that makes such a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think coming up, I wish that I had my father to tell me things so I wouldn't have to learn those lessons in life. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, about the absence of your father and seeking that love in a man?
I'm not going to say he was absent. He was there, but because they weren't together, I didn't see him as often.
Okay.
As a young girl, you want to be daddy's little girl,
and
have that love and all of that, but he was doing his own thing.
Right.
And he had his own separate family now.
Okay.
Because he was with a whole nother woman. So I didn't see him as much as I wanted to, as much as I wanted to be around him. So I lacked that. Okay. You know what I mean? And so then when this other gentleman, when I got older and this other man came around, it was okay, I'm getting love. Right. It was a love I never felt before. You know,
and this was your first love.
This was my first love. So it was okay, yeah. This is what I'm missing. This is what I want. Somebody that really loves me, that truly is taking care of me and providing, and at least that's what I thought was providing. That wasn't providing, buying me shoes and outfits, and that wasn't providing. But to me, at that age, it was providing.
Okay, you got with him at 16. And what age did he start changing?
Once I got pregnant at 19. He started changing around that time. he would start start saying stuff and doing stuff, and I think it was more so because I wasn't the only female.
Was it like belittling, or was it just
it was belittling, and he would pick arguments. And I remember one time we were going somewhere, and I probably was maybe 5 months pregnant or whatever, and we got into it, and that was the very first time he ever hit me. He hit me in my stomach, and I'm like, what? What? Why would you do? Because he hadn't hit me up until this point, like 16 to 19. Me and him had never physically got into it. He never showed that side. And I think it was more because his mother had found out she had cancer, and maybe he was dealing with that, knowing she was sick.
Did you take that blame on? Did you kind of make yourself feel bad? Like, did you take on his hitting as maybe he's just frustrated?
I did. Yep, I did. And then that's when I kind of felt like I had to walk on eggshells.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to do anything to make him upset, even though it wasn't my fault, and he was doing a whole lot of stuff behind my back. Like, you know what I mean? I got my very first apartment, and I let him come stay with me because, mind you, he didn't have his own place. He was staying with his mom, which that should have been a sign, and it wasn't.
Right.
So when I got my very first apartment, he was staying with me, but it would be nights where he'd be gone. Like, I'll wake up, and he's gone. And I'm like, okay, where is he at? Come to find out, he used to go be with his other girl. His other baby mama. And it was like, it became a problem to where, like, they found out where I lived. They would
the drama.
Me. Yes, the whole drama. But the abuse it really started once his mom had passed. And that's when he really started doing stuff, putting his hands on me and like.
From 16 to 19, like, could you ever remember, like, anything that would lead to abuse, whether it be emotional or just
not abuse, but probably
verbal,
and then just his ways. Like I said, I didn't know how to drive. I didn't have anybody to show me how to drive. So probably around 17, 18, he brought me my very first car.
And he wouldn't want a car.
Right.
At that age, too.
Exactly. But when he gets mad, he would take the car back. Like, he'll do stuff like that. He'll buy me stuff, and then he'll take it back.
The control.
Yeah.
The control.
Yeah.
So after your kids were born, did you all stay together long after that? Or, like, what happened after the child was born? And I know at that point you were kind of living in fear because of being hit. Like,
yeah.
And whenever, for me, when it starts, it's like, I can't believe he did that. But did he continue to do that through your pregnancy, or?
He stopped. Like I said, he did it that one time when he hit me in my stomach. And then after I had my son, like I said, it was so much going on with other females and stuff. I was tired of it because I'm like, I didn't see this growing up. I didn't see my mother going through this, so why am I allowing myself to go through this? So, I just was like, we need a break. We need to stop talking, da-da-da-da. So I started, talking to somebody else that I worked with. And I remember one time me and the guy was hanging out, and he would call and be like, whose car is outside of your house? Like, just stalkerish.
Yeah,
like,
stalking.
what are you, we're not even talking. Why are you even, But the guy had spent the night, and me and him, we didn't do anything. We had clothes on, we had came back from a party or whatever. And it was late, and I was like, you can stay here. So he stayed, and my kid's father showed up at the door. And I was like, look, I'm not going to let you in, because I knew, he had this problem physically of putting his hands on people. So,
right.
Because he also boxed. He was a boxer.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was boxing.
Jesus.
So he kicked my door in, ran up my steps, and hit me in my face. I blacked out for like 3 seconds, I want to say. And the dude that was there, all I seen was him run past me while I was on the ground, run out the door.
Wow.
But that didn't give me enough to...
I was going to say, did you leave?
It didn't give me enough to leave. I still stayed with him. Still ended up getting pregnant with my daughter in 2000. Had her in 2001. And still dealt with the females coming, knocking on my door, the calling on my phone, him taking stuff and just verbally saying stuff. And like I said, once his mom passed, it really got bad. That's when he really, really, physically became really physical and started really doing stuff. And the straw that broke the camel's back was when I just was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm tired. And I remember getting my kids ready because I had to be at work. It was early. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I remember getting my kids ready, and I'm about to leave out to go to work, and I open my door and I see that it's raining. I'm like, okay, I got to put some coats on them because it's raining outside. And I didn't shut my door all the way and didn't realize that this man was waiting on me.
Oh, wow.
And he came through my door. My heart just dropped in my stomach because it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Who's out at 5 o'clock in the morning to, start some mess? And he sent my kids upstairs, told them to go upstairs, shut the bedroom door, grabbed me by my hair, drug me in my kitchen. He filled up a pitcher of water, and I'm like, what is he doing with this water? I think he's ready to drown me with this water. But that's not what he did. He took the pitcher of water, and I had like this big old TV in my living room. He poured the water on the back of the TV.
Wow.
Drug me back in the kitchen and was like, suck my,
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And he was like, you gonna suck my, like, it had me by my hair and physically pulled his pants down and made me.
And y'all weren't together at that time.
We were
He
not
just
together.
broke in.
Yeah, he broke in. Then he took me by my hair. After he did that, and he was like, you a nasty bitch. You a nasty bitch. I just got through sleeping with somebody, and I didn't wash my stuff out.
Wow.
Grabbed me, still had me by my hair, took me up the stairs, and was like, I had like purses and Coach purses and stuff. He was taking all this stuff and was making me help him take stuff out of my house so he can go give it to some other female, basically, at that time. And then once we did that, he drug me back upstairs, got a phone cord, wrapped me, had my arms around my back, wrapped my arms with the phone cord, stomping me in my stomach, kicking me. I literally thought he was going to kill me that day. I was like, he's going to kill me, and my kids are in the next room. He didn't tie the cord tight enough, so I was able to get loose a little bit and was able to kind of like get out the room and run down the stairs. But when I did that, I'm like banging on neighbors' doors, and nobody would open their door. Yeah. Nobody would, and I know they heard me because I'm screaming and I'm hollering. So he knew I was trying to get to a phone to call the police or whatever. So he left. He drove off. But in the process of him leaving, he locked the door. And I couldn't get in because he took my purse, he took my cell phone, and he locked the door. And my kids were still in there. So finally, it was a young man, and he probably was getting ready for school or something, and he let me in the house. It was across the street, and I was able to call the police and let them know, what had happened, what went on, or whatever. And then I tried to go back home, and I tried to, like, get my son's attention because my son was probably 2 at this time. And I was like, come and let mommy in. Come unlock the door. Come open the door. And he was able to open the door, but that right there was the end of all, and that was when I was 21. So from 16 to 21.
So that was the end of it. What made you stay through in the beginning? Now that was your breaking point. You had already left him,
right? And
that was enough is enough. Like, well, first, did you press charges and go through with it? Or
I did. I pressed charges.
Did you go through with it? Because a lot of girls don't go through with it. It's
so crazy. I did not. And what's so bad was, like, when I went to go get the restraining order and stuff, I found out that this man had a record that was, like, 4 pages long, front to back. He was literally, like, I wasn't the first person that had domestic violence against him. He had it for a long time. But, because you're young, and you love somebody, you let them manipulate you. You let them trick you into believing that they changed and that they're sorry and it's because they were dealing with this and that's why they did this. And So he manipulated me. He would be like, well, if they subpoena you, you don't have to show up to court. Right. As long as you don't show up to court, they won't, you know.
Right. And did it ever, did it touch your mind and your heart, like, this is my kid's father? And even though he did all this is my kid's father.
It did. And I still loved him, which was the crazy part. Like, I still loved him after everything he put me through and everything that I've been through and everything that I knew wasn't right. I still loved him. And I still didn't want him to be in jail.
And when did that love, although there may be a love at some point, like I love my kids, even though it's a product of this man, at what point did you change? Like, at what point did you find happiness after him?
It took for him to be locked up because they did keep him, even though I didn't show up. They ended up keeping him for 2 months. And when this stuff happened, it happened in February. And by him being locked up, I guess I was able to start to heal.
Yeah.
I was able to start to love myself and see that my worth was so much more. My kids' worth was so much more. And then my husband came into my life around May, and that changed. It was like, God placed this man. I wasn't looking for nobody. Because after everything I've been through, I'm like, I had my defense up. I'm like, my guard is up. I don't want nobody else because this man had literally belittled me so much that I felt like I wasn't worthy to be with anybody else. You know what I mean? I felt so bad for myself that I just didn't have the desire to want to be with anybody.
Yeah.
But then my husband came and I met him, and it was just, he did something for me that no other man did, and that was he put my kids first, because I didn't have much money then. So my son's birthday was the end of May, and like I said, I met him around the beginning, Mother's Day to be exact, and I wanted to do something for my son, and this man went and brought all the food and barbecue for my son's birthday at the park.
With no strings attached?
No strings. Didn't even know me that long to go out and do this for my child. Like,
that's right.
Who does that? And that kind of showed me that there is a good man out there. There is somebody out there. You don't have to stay with your kid's father. You don't have to stay with somebody that's abusive and let them treat you that way. You don't deserve that. You deserve so much more. And it took me to find, not even find, but them to find me. Because like I said, I wasn't looking for him. But when he came in, and the crazy part is that my mom was married to his uncle.
Oh, wow.
So he had been around my mom and them.
Wow.
And so when I met him, I was at my mom's house, and he came over.
And look, never knowing he was right in your face.
Exactly. Didn't even know it. And it's crazy because my mom called me in the kitchen. She was like, well, he's a good man, and don't you mistreat him. I'm like, don't mistreat him. What about me? I'm your child. But 15 years later, we're still together. So
that's good stuff. Good stuff. That gives us hope. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to say this. To all ladies, whether you be a mom or, somebody's daughter, if you don't have your mom around and you don't have your dad around to tell you, I'm telling you, you got to love yourself. And I know it's easier said than done because, we've been through that where you've got to get to the point where you love yourself enough where you say, hey, if I'm with nobody, I'm going to love me. Mm-hmm. And when I'm with somebody, I'm not going to put myself to the side. But mothers, share with your daughters while you're teaching them to cook, you're teaching them to clean, and you're teaching them how to get a husband. Also let them know that there are the wolves out there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's those ones in between, and not all men are good men, but not all of them are bad.
And keep a line of communication open. And that's what I do with my daughter. I'm not going to say I'm her friend. She knows I'm her mother, but I want her to be able to come to me and be comfortable enough to come to me to let me know if something is going on, if somebody has done anything to her. See, I didn't have that with my mom. I didn't have that growing up. Even though I didn't see the abuse with her, I still kind of got verbally abused with her, with me and her, because she would always say, I'm doing something, and I'd be like, I'm not doing anything, and she would check the trash can to make sure I was coming on my period and stuff like that, and I'm like, really, I didn't have that communication. Like, I couldn't go to her and be like, well, Mom, this happened to me, or Mom, this happened to me, you know what I mean? I couldn't do that because we didn't have that communication.
And that's important.
That's so
important because I think even with my daughter, like when they become teenagers, you're so into trying to make sure they don't go on the wrong path and they don't get pregnant and they don't get this and that. Well, there's more to life than pregnancy and catching something. There are so many other lessons that can be taught instead of being learned.
Yes.
So this was like very enlightening. it really was. And I really pray that every girl, woman, some boys, I pray that it touches your heart in some kind of way where if you're in an abusive relationship, it's never okay to stay. Did you go to church? Were you in church like during the times of abuse? Because I know for me, the pastor was all for, don't talk unless your husband tells you to. Don't do this and that. So I was in a church where the pastor was kind of allowing, it to happen.
No. Then I grew up in a church because I had two sides. I had my dad's side, which I didn't spend time with him, but I spent time with his parents.
Yeah.
My grandparents always came and got us every weekend, every summer, every holiday, schools out, whatever. And they were church Sunday through Sunday. Like, they always was in church. So we had to go to church with them. But when I was at home with my mom and them didn't go to church. So that wasn't a big thing at my mom's house. So when I got older, I kind of stopped going over my grandparents because I wasn't a little kid no more. And because my mother didn't go to church, I didn't go to church. I never.
In your adult life, because although, in the childhood, it was like that. I was like, I ran from church. I'm like, we're in church Monday, Friday. We're in church all the time. Then we got the women's meeting, the choir. We got the dinners. I'm ready to go home. So as you got older, like, do you see Christ as being your source, or what was your strength during the time of finding yourself?
That was it. I started to get back to that. I wasn't there all the way because I always believed in Christ. I always believed in God. I always try to pray. I always let my kids pray. But finding myself more so was the kids. I wanted it better for them. I didn't want them to ever feel like they had to be in a situation like that or accept anything like that. My daughter from any male, and I didn't want my son to ever do that to any female or even be with a female that might have been, dominant to do that to him. So I had to think about them. But then when I got with my husband, we kind of got back into church. And after a couple of months of us being together, my husband started feeling the spirit of doing more, stepping up, and so he ended up becoming a deacon. He got ordained, so he is a deacon now. So now we are fully into church, and that's what I said. I think that's what really helped our marriage, is because we always keep God right there in the center of it. But no, before him and the process of me becoming a teenager and messing with my kid's father, no. God was never involved at all.
And the last thing I want to say is, it was just coming to mind, like in an abusive situation that I'd been in, his mother was like, what did you do to make him mad? Or don't do anything to upset him and then he won't hit you. Or what do you think about moms who permit their sons to just slide in life?
I don't think that's right. I just, like I said, with my kid's father, his mother was like that. He was her baby boy. She protected him. He could do no wrong, no matter what he did to a female. And the female that was in his life, she didn't let them know the things that he did do or the things that he was in trouble for or got into, trouble for. Because, like I said, once everything started to come out about him, it was like he had this baby mama, he had multiple kids, more than what I thought he had, and she knew about it.
I was going to say, they know.
She knew
Family knows,
she protected
mom knows.
him.
Yeah.
She knew he was abusive, but there was never a warning. And I just don't agree with that. No mom should cover up for their child. I know how we love our kids, and they can't do no wrong, but when you, as a female, have been in that situation, if my son was to do that, because I do have a son, if he was to do that and I knew about it, no, I'm not going to side with you. I'm not going to say that that's okay. I'm not going to hide it from any. I would tell the female, well, then you probably need to get out of this situation. If that's what he's doing to you, you don't deserve that, because no female deserves for any man to sit there and put their hands on her, to belittle her, to make her feel less than what she is. There should never be, that should never be okay. Ever.
And there is no excuse for
ever.
So in closing, that's where we are today. And I thank Tiffany for coming, and I thank her for just speaking to us. That's all really to say is abuse is never okay. And it's never okay to support an abuser and make them feel like it's okay. Bye, ladies.